just playing ownership game, especially in these bigger tournaments. Few GPP plays in here, and a couple guys I really like in some good spots. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and checking everything out, leaving likes. It's been super awesome, man. I'm overwhelmed with the success of the channel so far. So hopefully this season we'll kick off with a bang and keep on rolling all year long. So super excited for some DFS too, guys. We're so close. For some reason I was thinking it was not next weekend, but the weekend after next. But this weekend's Labor Day, so we'll have a game next Thursday. So literally almost a week, 7 days, so 8 days. So super excited for that. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of RB territory. All right, so one running back that really stands off the charts, in my opinion, just because of the receiving destruction that went on there. He's a little wary. We don't know exactly how healthy he is. They say he's good to go, but do we really believe him? Is this thing still lingering in his ankle? Who knows? But my first player that I think could possibly break the slate in half, and if anybody disagrees with this, so be it. I'm sure I don't think he's going to be that highly owned. I think he's gonna breeze by here. I think a lot of ownership up top. You're going to see the Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm really liking this Christian McCaffrey at 7,300, especially with no Debo anymore to steal goal line work from him. Of course, you still have Garindo there, but I think Garindo's still there. Just how great I think Christian McCaffrey could do this game. If somebody's going to score a 40 burger, it's Christian McCaffrey on the slate. I think he's in a good matchup. Going up against a Seattle team, they were mid-tier last year, not the greatest, but I really think that Christian McCaffrey is probably likely to go off this game, and I say that with a pretty well, standpoint. I think you could really see a max tier of 40 points, but just for the receiving work alone, I think we could easily see a 30 burger from Mr. McCaffrey. So I like CMC week 1. He's even cheaper than some of these receivers, which definitely should be cheaper than Puka Nacua. That's for sure. CMC, number one player on the list, in my opinion. Well, number one, 1A and 1B. And 1B, price adjusted, all of that good jazz, is a $5,600 Tyrone Tracy. Now, this Washington team last year gave up 7.6 yards per rush. They were absolutely terrible in the rushing game last year. So I don't think much has really changed in that defensive scheme. Maybe you think Dan Quinn's going to get these guys playing a little better. Who knows? One game that really stuck out to me that definitely, that I watched personally, that was a really awesome game. Atlanta at Washington. Bijan Robinson with 24 points. He had 2 tutties that game. So only 90 yards, 10 away from getting that bonus. You could have easily saw him with a 30 burger. Now, is Tyrone Tracy going to get you a 30? Probably not. Is Tyrone Tracy going to be direct leverage off of Malik Neighbors? For sure. And really, I really like that play because of that. Russell Wilson, I'm not ready to ride. I'm not ready to ride with Russell anymore. I'm off the horse with Russell. But I think Tyrone Tracy could definitely see some work. We've seen it last year in the passing game. If we want to breeze through a couple of his stats, let's see here. He had a 20-point game, a 20-point game, 22-point game. He had a 16.9. So he had a few good games, not really super standing out. But this offense is a lot better. We're not playing with Tommy DeVito anymore. I know we're playing with Russell, but he could be efficient enough to get us in the red zone with some Tyrone Tracy looks in the end zone. So hopefully I think he could get 1 touchdown. I think he's going to get 1 touchdown for sure. 2 might be stretching it. But we want to play him in these larger GPP fields. I think he'll be severely underowned. You'll probably see him around that 10 or 12% ownership range, I think. So another player that really stands out in this running back category is Mr. David Montgomery here. So Montgomery is one of those players where you're going to get, you know, 60 yards rushing and probably, maybe a touchdown, probably a touchdown. If not a lot's changed since last year, which who knows, they could take Jahmyr Gibbs to the whole nother level. But I don't think David Montgomery's bust. I think he's a valuable, grind back. I think you can grind him on in the end zone. Especially with this new offensive scheme, maybe we'll take it easy week one, and this is going to be a rush fest against a so Denver team. I mean, a Green Bay team. Do we think David Montgomery's going to get 30 points? No, I don't. But at $5,700, if he gets us 23, 24, I'm happy with that. And I think you could definitely get that with a 2-touchdown game from Montgomery. Also, you're pulling direct leverage against an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I'm not so high on this year. And I'm definitely not high on this against this Green Bay secondary. But Montgomery could definitely be, one of those lower owned tier players because he's not super cheap where you got to stab him in, but he's at a discount for sure. He was around that $6,500 range all year last year. So, at 5,700, I think he's a fine play for the red zone equity alone. You know, not counting pulling direct leverage from Jahmyr Gibbs, but also Amon-Ra and JMO. So if David Montgomery sees his end zone twice, you're going to be looking good. If Amon-Ra has played heavily, which I think he probably should be on the slate because not so many receivers, not these top tier studs. But a fine play at $5,700 in my opinion. And maybe my second or third, we'll say maybe my third or fourth favorite play. My second favorite play of the week, week one here, is Mr. Alvin Kamara. I know this offense is in shambles. It's rebuilding for sure. Are they going to be as bad as they were last year? I don't think so. I think this is probably a 5-win team this year. And with Kamara, I know he's been banged up a lot, but we definitely seen some games of spark from Kamara. That one against Dallas was insane with a 47 burger. Yeah. So he had 47 against Dallas. He had a 30 Carolina. He had several 18s, several 17-point games, 22-point games. So, he's averaging around that 19-point fantasy points a game, which is awesome. I think he could see a lot of work in the receiving range as well, picking up maybe 4 or 5 receptions, hopefully, and hopefully 2 touchdowns. And, at the start of the year, I feel like these offensive schemes aren't really explosive, still kind of getting these, back in the swing of things. And I like to be a little more heavier running back first of the year. I feel like it's a little more safer play, in my opinion. Is this a 3 running back game? It possibly could be, is this, if we add in CMC here in the flex, we're not talking a whole lot here. That's 30,000. It's a little steep if we go Tracy, Kamara, McCaffrey. Now, one player in particular that I've seen that was at a very cheap price that is almost a lock for me in, GPP, bigger tournaments. Garindo is still in San Francisco, so I was trying to find his name, but is Tank Bigsby. I scrolled down, I seen a $4,600 Tank Bigsby against Carolina. Bigsby was not bad last year, guys. He had a few good bust out games. He had a 28 burger, 26 burger, few 13-point games. He's a boomer bust play for sure. But at this, he had 7 touchdowns last year, so not not terrible against this Carolina defense who's not very heavy up front. Um, you know, I know I'm big on Bryce Young and um, Adam Thielens of the world, um, but Brian Thomas Jr. for sure. If you want to get direct leverage against a Brian Thomas, because who else are you going to go to? A Brenton Strange? Not really. I think leverage is the running back room in Jacksonville, and Bigsby stands out to me mostly at $4,600. If you go down here to ETN, he was kind of expensive. Um, I think he was around this. Yeah, he's at 5,400. That's too much for ETN. He's still a 1A, 1B. ETN's getting a lot of the pass work, but Bigsby's going to be getting that red zone role. So super excited for that at $4,600. What do you really have to lose? It's a punt for sure, but it's weird. He's going to be low owned. He's probably only going to be 5% max, in my opinion, maybe 6, but I'd say 5% ownership for a $4,600 player who has the potential of a couple touchdowns. At 46, he don't even have to get a couple. He could get you 16, 17 points and be just fine, I think, especially with, the amount of running backs on the slate. We don't have Derrick Henry. So not these higher end, you have Bijan and Gibbs, one of the two best, but you don't have Saquon. So I don't think Saquon or Derrick Henry, I don't think you have to go crazy. But for, bigger field stuff, GPPs, Bigsby stands out to me the most on the slate at $4,600. And that's a weird take, and I get it. And it's probably crazy, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to go with my gut. And I think Bigsby can outscore some of these guys, at $4,600. He's going to pay dividends on that $4,600 tag. I think, you could see a 16-point game out of Bigsby for sure. With a touchdown and, maybe 67 yards and a couple of receptions. That's all you need. So switching off Bigsby, as I said, we love Kamara. We love Bigsby. We love McCaffrey. We love Tyrone Tracy. Some of these, bigger plays, bigger name plays, I'm not too big on. I know I mentioned Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's just meh, situations. Um, just meh. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. For 8K, he has to do a lot. He's probably going to score you 35, I think, 34. So McCaffrey, I take McCaffrey over Bijan any day of the week. You don't really have that vulture in there anymore as Debo, stealing touches away from McCaffrey. I know you have Garendo, but he's not really, the bulldozing back. So I think McCaffrey is probably my favorite play on the slate at 7,100, 7,300. And I know a lot of people are wanting to go towards a Chase Brown. I think it's a meh against Cleveland's front line. I'm not taking that chance. I think the game's more of a shootout than a big lead run out. So that's just my opinion on that. And another player that really, I think could really, stand out is if you don't play a Kamara and you want to get to a James Conner with like a Olave bring back or a Jawan Johnson bring back or Rashid Shaheed bring back, that's perfectly fine. I think James Conner is in a good spot too against this New Orleans defense, who's not that great either. James Conner, he's as long as he stays healthy and he doesn't go out in the fourth quarter like he usually does, I think we could be okay. A more of a cash play in my opinion, but I think he could get you there in a tournament as well. Like I said, against this New Orleans team, I mean, what are you going to do? This game's probably a low key shootout, and I don't think enough people are going to be on this game, stacking this game up. So I like to get pieces of it, and one way to get pieces of these crappier game scripts really is a Kamara or a James Conner. Either one's fine with me. I tend to lean Kamara a little more for his passing role, but and James Conner, I put him right behind Kamara. One player. That being said, I have one more player, and I know it's downright nasty, but I think this is some Millie Maker stuff here. if he's not cut, I want to get my hands on some Dameon Pierce. No Joe Mixon. Cam was actually cut, so Dameon Pierce is still there. Cam Akers was cut, I believe. So I like this Dameon Pierce play. Yeah, he's cut. Okay, he's on New Orleans now. Yeah, I like Dameon Pierce. I'm gonna say it. It's nasty. I get it, but if the ownership shakes out the way I think it can, um, just with the lack of depth in the receiving area, Nico Collins is gonna be highly owned, and I don't think Nico is a bad play. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, how do we get leverage off of Nico while still staying in that Houston LA Rams game, right? One way to do it, and it's a super cheap way to do it, is a $4,700 Dameon Pierce. Now, like I said, him and Bigsby are in this punt territory at running back, but still could see a lot of goal line work. I think Dameon Pierce had a few games last year, maybe one, two. Okay, so he had two decent games last year. 26 against Houston, he had a touchdown, 176 yards rushing, and he had 76 on a tutty against New England. So it's definitely one of those wacko off the wall plays, but I think you could get some low ownership on him for sure. I think you're going to see him in that 2% range maybe, and that's a stretch. So that's going to close out our running back territory here on the DraftKings Week 1 look ahead. I really think my favorite play is CMC, and it's going to be a CMC Tyrone Tracy type of week, I think. And I'm just getting leverage. That's all I'm doing. I'm getting off of Bijan and I'm getting off of Jameer, and I'll play David Montgomery, and I'll play a CMC, and we'll play a Tank Bigsby, and we'll play a Tyrone Tracy just to get off some of these bigger name players in the receiving areas, which I think is fine, and I think it's a strategically better play to go with one of these $4,600-$4,700 running backs who could see some work. That's just my opinion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for everything. Just super excited to be doing this. I love football. I love fantasy football. So this is one of my favorite things to do. So thank you guys for watching the videos, subscribing. Don't forget to leave a like. Comment in the comment section. We can go over some plays if you guys want. If you have any questions, let me know. Look forward to seeing that and hearing from you guys. So with that being said, that is the end of the video, and we will see you guys for our next DFS breakdown. I think we're going to do defensive players next, and then we'll finish it with tight ends. Maybe vice versa, not for sure yet, but we'll see you guys on the next video. So looking forward to it, and peace.